guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, getting an email that was sent from a subscriber. That's from a guy, he's 70 years old, a lifelong bachelor, meaning never married, not even once, and he shares his story or a series of stories which backs up why exactly he's been a lifelong bachelor and not dated since the 80s. The 80s. You're going to see that this guy was not the typical guy who writes in who was burned by a lot of gals and all that. No. This is the guy who the gals cheated on against their husbands and boyfriends, except he didn't know it at the time. So obviously we got an old Chad here, and he's writing in all these different stories and situations, showcasing and making the point of the things I talk about in this channel. I talk about often how it doesn't make a difference where you are in this world or what your background is. This information on human nature, because that's what really this is all about, human nature, is no different depending on your culture, where you live, and the time period. The same crap that happens today happened back then, except nowadays with technology it makes it easier to cheat and do all those things. But at the end of the day, women are women even back then, and this makes the point of the things I talk about. So anyhow, I'm going to go through this. It's pretty entertaining. Not too long, but definitely entertaining short stories for you guys that like this type of thing. He says here, "Hi SSM. I just watched a couple of your YouTube videos. The last couple stories were from older men, so I thought you might be interested in a few short stories from this old timer. I will be 70 years old next month and was pretty successful and saved up enough to retire comfortably. I never married, no kids, and stopped dating in the early 1980s. Wow. Are you telling me you haven't gotten any since the early 80s, dude? I have a hard time believing that. Maybe you went to a pro, I don't know. But in terms of just simply dating to date, I can't blame you given what you're going to share here. The main reason I stopped dating is because I was the guy that women cheated on their boyfriends and husbands with. It wasn't my fault most of the time." Oh, okay, so there were a couple instances that you knew, but I know you were super young. Then it's not an excuse, but you were young. "I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood. I was lucky to have very attractive parents. They were very crazy in love with each other, always hugging and kissing, pinching each other's behinds, leaving love notes behind on the table for each other. My dad died of a heart attack while making love with my mom. Dad was 11 years older than her. They were married for 35 years. I never saw them argue, really, and they were very religious. Pretty much spoiled me regarding looking for a relationship." Yeah, anyway, so you had the dream parents who were great to you and everything, but they all were deeply in love and treated each other great. I wish everybody could have this. "My older brother looked like Tom Selleck, and my little sister looked like Stevie Nicks." Did your older brother have that mustache? Nobody can pull off the fucking mustache except Tom Selleck. "I came out looking okay. There were dozens of families on the street where I grew up, each with between 2 to 6 kids. It was easy to get enough guys for a baseball game at the nearby athletic field. There were also lots of pretty girls. My sister had many cute girlfriends. We had alleys back then, and it was easy for the neighbor girls to sneak out the side door late at night and walk down the alley to my backyard. My bedroom was in the basement. Many nights I'd hear a tapping on my bedroom window, and I'd walk up the steps and let them in the side door. Some nights my sister and I would discuss which of my guy friends she liked and which of her girlfriends I liked. I'd have my friends over for the night, and she'd have her friend over. When my mom and dad fell asleep, my sister and her friend would come downstairs to my room. My sister and I were very close, and mom and dad gave us a lot of space. I learned early on that girls like space just as much as us guys do." Yes, they do, and, well, we know what happens then. He says, "So that's enough about my background. Here are some of the short stories, but not in any particular order." He says, "Once, a really cute little blonde friend of my sister's came over. She was bored and wanted to go out to a nightclub." Okay, so obviously you're older at this point. "I took her out. We had a great time and ended up at her place. We were there in bed when a little after 2 o'clock in the morning, her phone rang. It's her boyfriend, and he's on his way over. I gotta go." So you're hooking up with her, and she's got a boyfriend. Or shall I say, she got you to come hook up with her, and she has a boyfriend. You didn't know this. Great. She lived on the 3rd floor of an old house, and I'm running down the slippery, snowy steps, putting my clothes on. Just as I was driving away, I saw a set of headlights in my rearview mirror coming around the corner. He parked in the same spot I just left. That poor bastard. And it sounds like you didn't know until, obviously, he called. See, guys? Same type of crap back then. What you should have done is, I don't know, let the guy know. Not then, but somehow. Another story. In college, there was a girl in one of my classes that was very friendly. She had a boyfriend. He would walk her to class holding hands. He'd give her a little see you later kiss and go to his class. There was an important exam coming up, and this girl said we should get together and study. Yeah, I've heard that song and dance before. Safe enough. She's got a boyfriend. We studied for a while, but she got tired of studying and asked if I'd like a back massage. Hard to pass up a back massage. After a while, she said my belt was in the way, and well, you get the picture. Well, there you go, and smack to you. You knew she had a boyfriend, and you went along with it anyway. And come on, get together and study. She couldn't have been that smart, but you obviously liked her, and, could see she liked you. It was a low-hanging fruit. And the old back rub thing. You know how many times girls pulled that shit with me? Girls I was friends with when I was younger in high school, college. Interestingly, girls that I wasn't really into because back then I was a freaking nice guy. I had friends that were girls I'd hang out with. And the ones I liked weren't into me, most of them. But the ones I didn't like, they liked me. And usually these were girls I was friends with. And it was the old back rub shit. I remember that. It's no different when I was young as when you were young. Says another college story. I didn't have any classes with this one, but I'd see her in study hall. Gorgeous. I watched as guys who were taller, older, and better looking than me hit on her and strike out. We would chit-chat a bit, but I never made a play. The last day of classes was a beautiful spring day. We were chatting, and I said that was such a nice day, I think we should take a walk in the nature area. She said that sounded like a good idea and came with me. We walked and talked and really hit it off. I walked her to her last class, and she gave me her phone number saying that we should keep in touch during the summer. Isn't this the girl with the boyfriend? It took me a few days to get up the nerve to call her. Her mom answered the phone and told me that she wasn't home right now, and I explained who I was, and she said, "Oh yes, she told me about you. I'll have her give you a call." Wow, she told me about her mom. She told her mom about me. That bodes well. She did call me back, and we talked about maybe catching a movie. I said, "I love that. When?" She said, "How about tonight?" She gave me directions to her place. She had the newspaper out to the movie section, and she picked a double feature at the local drive-in theater. You know you're going back in time here when he talked about it. She was looking in the newspaper for showtimes and then going to the drive-in theater. We parked in the back row and played bouncy through both movies. She was a moaner. I called her the next day and suggested maybe going on a picnic. That's when she told me, "I'm kind of seeing someone right now." Another one who's cheating with him. Now, he didn't know she had a boyfriend. Well, did I miss something? I can't recall if you said that. Maybe I'm already losing my fucking memory here. But the point is, another girl easily cheating on their guy with the guy they perceive as the Chad. Another one. He says here, once an acquaintance invited me to a house party. I didn't know him very well, and it turned out he just needed a ride to the party. It was a good party, but my friend disappeared into the crowd. I didn't know anybody there. I was talking to a guy and said I was going to go for a drive to the gas station and buy a pack of cigarettes. But it was just an excuse to leave the party. A girl who I had not been talking to heard me and said, "Oh, you're going to go buy some cigarettes." I turned to look at her, and she was very attractive. Certainly a good reason for me to come back to the party. I said, "Yes, you want me to bring you back a pack? What's your brand?" She says, "Why don't I come with you?" Sure. We got our smokes, and she asked if there was some place we could go. This sounds like a typical house party. Guys, in case you've never been to a fucking house party before or a college party, I get young people watching me. All you have to be is the right place at the right time with girls in a party, and there's drinking going on, and they're ready to hook up. As long as you look remotely presentable and you don't say anything stupid, it's not going to be that hard for you to get some action. The right place, right time. Many times, gals, with me, back in my days, my nice guy days when I wasn't exactly James Bond, I was the right place at the right time, and I didn't say anything stupid, and therefore, So this is very realistic. Well, there was a place called Rocket Slide Park where teenagers would go to park and make out. Once we were parked, she asked, "Is this place cool?" Wasn't sure what she meant, but I said yes. That's when she started taking her clothes off. Okay, after we had our fun, I drove her back to the party, where she disappeared into the crowd, and I never saw her again. I can't even remember her name. Now, in this situation, he doesn't sound like she had a boyfriend, but for all you know, she probably did. One more story. Well, here we go. An old girlfriend called once. Now, remember, he's jumping around in time periods, like when he was obviously probably a late teenager to his early 20s and all that. An old girlfriend called me. Her friend was getting married in my city, and she asked if she could stay at my place rather than get a hotel room. Sure, I picked her up at the airport, helped her carry in her bags, and she wasn't in my apartment for half an hour when she let me know that she was separated from her husband and hadn't had any bedroom action for too long. Enough said. Well, that's why you picked her up at the airport, because you were probably figuring that. Some weeks later, in the middle of the night, the phone rings. My roommate picks up the phone in his room. Then I hear him say, "Steve, it's for you." It was her husband. Her husband? What happened to the whole "they're separated" thing? They were not separated, and she told him everything. My roommate said that when he picked up the phone, her husband said, "I'm going to cut off your dick." That's when my roommate knew the call was for me. That's about the time I decided to stop dating. I wanted to keep all my body parts intact. I got a few more stories, but that's all for now. If you made it this far, thanks for your time. Well, sir, none of that surprises me. Literally what you described, this shit, with the exception of the fucking drive-thru, because to my knowledge there's no drive-thrus anymore, and nobody's looking at movie times in the newspaper, pretty much anything you described there could happen now. It goes to show that women are the fucking same now as they were back then. And I guarantee if I had a time traveler here from 500 years ago and I could actually understand what the hell he was saying, he would probably describe the same goddamn thing happening in a wagon or a fucking hut somewhere in a field of sheep. I don't know. Women do what they do. And when you're the perceived Chad, look what happens. They don't care if they're married or have boyfriends or anything like that. Now, the problem is when you actually are aware that these gals have husbands or boyfriends, that makes you a scumbag. So you were young, and I'm not saying it's an excuse, but it's a little more than being a grown-ass adult knowing that's not right. You know, but the point is, I can't blame you for really not dating or having anything like a relationship since the 80s because you could see clearly what happens out there. Because what would have happened was, and I've covered stories from guys that wrote in, you would have been the former Chad that turned into the nice guy, or at least a relationship guy, and the same crap would happen to you. Now, that would be karma, given the fact that you knew you were sometimes with other guys' girlfriends, but the point is, you obviously realize I'm not even going to go for that because the same crap's going to happen to you. So I don't blame you at all. But anyhow, guys, that'll be entertaining. I like sharing the stories from the older guys here because it's the same shit back then as it is now. Nothing's changed and nothing will. 50 years from now, you know, technology will change, but human beings aren't going to be any different. 50 years, I'll be fucking 97 years old. If I even live that long, that'll be something. I certainly won't be on fucking YouTube. It'll probably be all like 3D or the metaverse or Christ knows what is going to be going on in 50 years. If we're even here in 50 years. But anyhow, there you go. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, you got a good story to share or a series of stories to share, send it my way. strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com, and if it works, I'll definitely cover it. And that also includes any good news articles or crazy stories you happen to find somewhere online. I can make use of it all, so send it my way, and I'll use it in one of the channels. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.